Welcome to this week's episode. I am so thrilled to talk about entrepreneurship and really what it takes to be in the beauty industry, not only as raising funds, setting up a brand, and so much more. We're speaking to the one and only Hind Sebti. She is the founder, actually co-founder and chief growth officer at Waldencast. And I'd like to say this is a publicly traded company. I mean, we're going to talk about so much on today's episode. You're going to want to take a pen and a paper because it's going to be a wealth of knowledge if you are looking to start a brand. Hind, welcome. You're in Dubai.
Yes. Hi, Rosemin. Thank you so much for having me. So excited for this chat. Thank you so much.
I was so impressed with your career. I mean, not only just having a listed company on NASDAQ, which was pretty amazing, but let's start with just growing up in Morocco. Mm-hmm. Where did that passion for beauty come from?
So yeah, I was born and raised in Morocco, and not anywhere in Morocco, in a town called Meknes, which is in the middle of Morocco, and it's one of the cities that we call, it's an imperial city. So it was at one point the capital of Morocco, and it's a UNESCO World Heritage. It's a city that is steeped in beauty, the beauty of the architecture, the beauty of the traditions, the beauty of the rituals. So I always feel very lucky. I say Morocco taught me beauty because beauty is in every day. So, and especially in the beauty rituals. So I grew up seeing my grandmother, my aunts, my mom, the hammam ritual. So I always loved how beauty gives you a connection to people, because the only way we experience beauty in Morocco is through others and in community. So I really loved that. And for me, I loved people, I loved beauty. And I thought from a very early age, I would love to have a career or make a job or whatever we think when we're very young in this industry.
What were some of the traditions growing up? I feel like being Indian, I always I didn't even think about it, but like every Saturday my mom would make these like homemade masks, right?
Yeah.
And like, you know, this concoction of like gram flour and turmeric, and like you don't even think about it when you're a kid. You just do what your mom says. But then really it's all these kind of customs and traditions that are passed on through generations. What were some of your beauty rituals that you did with your family?
I think actually India and Morocco have a lot of in common in those rituals and how we grew up. So much part of our day-to-day life. I think the ones that are the most known is the hammam ritual. So when I was a small child, I think as long as I can remember, I used to go to the hammam. So hammam is the weekly bath ritual. So it's a public bath. You go with your mom, sometimes your aunts, it's an entourage of people, and you go for a washing experience, but it's much more than a washing experience, a cleansing experience, right? Because it's a 2-hour, process where you take your own clay mask for, to put on your face and your hair for exfoliation and softening. You take your own orange blossom water for the toning, your rose water for the refreshing. And we also have this something called the lipstick from Fez, Akar al-Fasi in Arabic, which is this pinky powder that you put in the water at the end of the hammam to splash on your face to give you a bit of that pinky glow. So this was week in, week out, what I used to do. You have rituals that are in beauty, but then you have what you eat after. You eat oranges to refresh yourself, to being 2 hours in the heat. It is most of my childhood and only teenage years. And not only it was the ritual itself, but I also would see my grandmother's making the clay mask. It's called the rasoul. She will dry it in her rooftop. My other grandmother would make the rose water and the orange blossom water at the right time of the year. So it's the smell, the texture, and that experience is much more than beauty for me.
So this was like, because I remember you telling me this story. I used to go with your school friends, so I love that.
Yes.
And then so you kind of, it sparked some interest. I mean, there was these rituals that you had in Morocco. When did you leave Morocco?
I left Morocco when I was 17 years old. I went to French high school when I was in Meknes, and after that, automatically you go and study in France, right? It's the natural progression. So I left Morocco to go to France to study engineering. Why engineering? Because I was good at maths and physics, and because I was told that, girls shouldn't do engineering. I was like, well, I'm going to do exactly that. So I went to France, in Lyon in particular, and started my engineering studies and career to some extent.
And being in France, did that spark a little bit? Was there any kind of this beauty journey starting then?
It's interesting because being in France, it's funny to say, but I realized how Moroccan I was, because in Morocco I was going to French high school, so I was Moroccan with a big dose of French. When I went to France, what was average in Morocco, like the beauty rituals. In France was the exception. So I found that, unlike my French friends, I would hunger for those scents, those smells, those experiences that were not more widely available. So that's, I almost like started missing some of my culture that I thought for granted. The beginning of the missing, didn't miss it too much at the beginning. But then what France, actually my engineering studies and then my career taught me is the know-how, right? Because Morocco is a lot of craftsmanship, of rituals, but France taught me more the know-how part of beauty and the performance and what you need to do to create luxury beauty, if that makes sense.
So we're in France. You graduate from engineering. Yeah. I'm assuming you didn't use that degree at all. No, you didn't use it at all.
You assume very well.
Yeah. But I do love that you challenged that most girls don't do engineering at that point in your life. So that was pretty exciting. Yeah. Your first job? P&G.
So it's, for me, the journey in, and I think I'm going to talk about this experience because I think it was a big learning curve for me, because I think we always need like the first one step, and this kind of unlocks the other steps. So when I joined engineering school, I was, very good at maths, at physics, and I was like, yeah, I'm here, I'm doing it. But then I realized I was in a company of people who liked maths and physics and engineering much more than I did. So as a competitive set, I was like, do I project myself in any of the success stories that came from my engineering school? And plenty of them were amazing. I was like, no, I don't see myself doing that. I see myself doing something else, a little bit more. And I started thinking beauty industry, not just beauty in general. So what I did is, in my engineering school, I went away from the very technical career path, like mechanical, electrical engineer, and I did industrial engineering, which is a little bit softer, and it's more about project management and making things happen in many ways. So when I finished my with my degree, I was like, there's only two companies I want to work in, Procter & Gamble and L'Oréal, because they are the only brands I knew that did beauty in Morocco and in France. So I applied and I got my first job at Procter & Gamble through my engineering degree in the supply chain department, but with a focus on beauty. And that was the first mini step that got me into beauty through my engineering degree. But I was already looking at any opportunity I had to move slowly to what I wanted to do.
Well, I find it really interesting because I think a lot of times when you hear about the beauty industry or the fashion industry, people think of only design or the PR and marketing. But there is literally thousands of jobs when a product is designed from a sketch to
for sure,
the fabrics, the making of the I mean, so many process before the actual item goes on the shop floor, and same with beauty. It's like the technicalities of the packaging, the the tech side, the registration. Like there's so much that goes on. So I love that you started on the supply chain, because I feel like everything is kind of coming together as we go through your journey. Procter & Gamble was a great base. I mean, a multinational company, so you must have learned a lot. What were your takeaways from that first job?
So my first job, I was again, I started in supply chain in a multifunctional team that was focused on retailer, like how do we service retailers. And I very quickly was given the opportunity to move into demand planning, so more on the brand side. And if you know about P&G is a big beauty company globally, but in France it was very small because L'Oréal is so big. So at the time I got lucky, because luck also plays a lot of in our career journeys. They created this small team that was supposed to crack the beauty portfolio of P&G in France. And they were like, oh, I was 23, so clearly not but because it was a small role, they were like, would you want to go there and be the demand planning manager and manage this small team that is doing the supply chain, etc. So I took that, was like, wow, it is beauty, it's Pantene, it's maybe Olay in the future, Max Factor, skincare, makeup. And what I did in that role, because it was a small entrepreneurial role, is that might have looked weird on a typical career path. I loved it because everybody was doing what needed to be done. So I started taking in marketing projects. And I started showing that actually maybe I was good at the brand side and the product side, even if I hadn't technically studied it, right? So that's what that job has taught me, had enabled me to come in, slightly swerve into the beauty brand building side, and show to myself first the way I could do, and then show to the wider organization what I could do, and then take my career path even closer to what I always wanted to do, which is the heart of the branding and the product and the storytelling.
In a company as big as P&G, what were one of the brands that you were really impressed with?
So P&G is an amazing school. I always think I was so lucky to spend my first 10 years because it's a school of marketing, of brand building that teaches you the processes, the templates, and I'm so thankful for it until now. The brand, what I wanted, the brand I was obsessed with was Olay, because I wanted to do skincare. It's the category that spoke to me the most as a consumer, again, for this connection, something you put on your skin, on your face. There's a lot of trust. So actually, this is because of my passion for Olay, that was at the time the number one skincare brand in the world. I wanted to move from France to the UK because Olay didn't exist in France. And I said, actually, I would like to move to the UK so I get a chance to work on Olay.
I love Olay, by the way. That reminds me of my mom.
I love it. I love it.
I remember every bottle type. My mom was obsessed
still love
with
it today. It's one of my favorite skincare brands, yes.
So was that your journey to the UK? That was kind of your...
So I started in, so I manage, and it's something I wanted to talk about again because it's very important in, I think, early stages of a career is the right people and the right mentors.
Yeah.
When I was in that early stage of, I'm part of this beauty multifunctional team, I am the supply chain manager or whatever we call it, and I'm working with brand and product and taking on projects, very quickly I realized that I was actually quite good at that. I was like, oh my God, actually just not in my head. I might be better at this than what's supposed to be my job. But I was told in P&G at the time in France, you do not break silos. You don't move from finance to supply chain to commercial to marketing, even less from supply chain to marketing, which was like a big stretch. And I had this like fire and I was like, I absolutely have to do it. But everybody was like, no, you cannot do it. And I remember I traveled to Mexico of all places and I read a magazine that I had never read before. It's Fast Company, it's my first Fast Company. And I remember it was the courage issue. And I opened it and straight away I read, only those who dare to go too far can see how far they can go. I was like,
That's a great quote.
I came back, I went to see my marketing director, who was this amazing woman, iconic in beauty. And I said, listen, you might tell me I'm crazy, but I want to move. I want to move from supply chain to marketing. And I just have to tell you, even if you tell me no. And to my great luck, chance, whatever, she said, you know what? I was thinking exactly the same. I was thinking Hind should be so much better in marketing. And she made it her career big move to make me move. And I will forever be thankful to her. So she made it happen and set me on the career path that I'm today, so the importance of the right people and talking to the right people at the right time.
I feel like that's such a great example because as all of us get higher in that career ladder, you have to spot the potential in the next generation and see who needs the nurturing to get where they want to go and help them in that career path.
Yeah.
And to help them grow. That's so, I have so many examples. Of that
I think it's important, right? We don't talk about it enough, especially as I think a lot of women helped me in my career path. Just out of, because they spotted something I maybe have not, or they just wanted to help me, or so I think it's worth telling the stories to encourage people to go and ask, because I always say, what's the worst that can happen? What could this lady have told me? No, nobody ever died from being told no. So you move on. But if you miss an opportunity, that will stay with you forever. I could have just asked. That's much worse, I think, in many ways.
I do think it's a two-way. It's being able to ask at a certain position, like how do I grow or shadow or how do I grow to the role that I want to be at? Yeah. And then when you're in a leadership role is really perfecting your leadership skills and constantly developing and not only just accelerating your career, but the career of those behind you to bring them forward.
For sure. No, that's...
but I love that. It's a great example.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're at P&G.
Yeah.
You moved to Olay. My mother will be so proud to hear this interview.
My grandmother and my mom were very proud.
Yeah.
That's
That's amazing. I always say the story, like I've done all this kind of fashion stuff and my mom was the most proud when I was like the face of Pond's because they actually chose these like entrepreneurial women for this campaign and I was on this billboard and my mom was telling everyone, I'm like, but mom, do you know everything else I've done? And she just wasn't interested. She was just so proud of Pond's. So you're in UK, which is where you're based now.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy London? What was it like to move from France?
I thought at the beginning I'm going to go to the UK and we're going to stay for 2 years, and do the job and then move on and do something else elsewhere. And I loved it. I think I found in London this truly, this is London 2007, right? The true cosmopolitan vibe that I was hungering for. That you have I loved living in France. I was in Paris during my career, but it felt like London gave you a more international platform. People people from different cultures, people with different backgrounds. The energy of the city, I found that super, I loved it. That's why I stayed there many years later. And the creative energy of the city. And from then I took my early job, which was great. And I built my career in multiple roles at P&G. And after 10 years, I realized that, you know, I really wanted to work to be in beauty. That was my only certainty. And I was like, okay, maybe P&G has a big beauty business, but it's not the heart of the business. There are other bigger businesses, the Pampers business, the laundry business, that are much more strategic. So I thought that I had came to the end of that journey of learning beauty from P&G. And then I got a call from L'Oréal.
And then the stories that I mean, I feel like this is when your story really starts, right? Because this is the company that you kind of mentioned in the beginning of your of going to France, and now you're at L'Oréal.
Yeah.
And now it's expanded. Your network has expanded, the people you're working with, your position, you're in a very senior level now. Yeah. What was the first brand you were working with?
So I joined L'Oréal as across multiple brands. My role was category strategy director, and I was working the consumer. I mostly worked in consumer most of my career. Mm-hmm. So the L'Oréal Paris, Maybelline, Garnier brands of L'Oréal. And I came in to work in a role that was relatively new at L'Oréal, where they were the company was trying to marry brand marketing and retail marketing, and because retailers have become such a big part of the puzzle of reaching consumers. So that was a role that I was hired to do. And for the little story, because we're talking about careers, the role that made L'Oréal reach out to me is the role in my CV at P&G that I would have thought is the one that I didn't want to do. You know, I was like, I did this role called Tesco Shopper Marketing Manager, which was marketing in partnership with a retailer. And as a brand person, I was like, I'd rather do product development and why am I going to do this? But then I thought, it's something new that I've never done, and I will learn more commerciality and dealing with retailers while still in a brand marketing, anchor. And that experience, when I've done it, I was very happy with it. Like, it was just the before, what you think about experiences. And it was brilliant. And then that was, of all the other experiences, not working on Olay, not working on Pantene, not working on global beauty brand from a product point of view that attracted them, because they had a lot of people who did that before, but what I did in that retail marketing job, and that's why they hired me to do something similar at L'Oréal. I did it for less than a year, and then I moved to L'Oréal Paris. So my real first brand was L'Oréal Paris. Number one beauty brand in the world at the time, so probably still today.
And what's the best product from there?
I
want to say voluminous mascara.
Oh, that's one of the hero mascara globally. Yeah, I worked on everything L'Oréal Paris but makeup. So I did color, hair, skincare, body care.
To me, the hair color market is L'Oréal. Like, I feel like I can't live without that root spray. There is a great product. It was launched just after I left, or around that time. But when we compare, people ask me a lot about P&G and L'Oréal because they're two different schools of thought. I feel very lucky that I did them in that order. P&G gave me a frame, taught me how to think, how to strategize, how to really be a highly effective leader, manager, marketeer. But by that time, when I moved to L'Oréal, I was in my early 30s. I knew who I was, so I had the foundation, and I was ready to express them in a way that was not just the tone of voice of the whole company, but my own tone of voice. And that's what L'Oréal allowed me to do. Is they hired Hind, they didn't hire yet another person, same person as the ones they had. And that's what I started to do things my way. I was like, I know enough because I'm experienced enough now, and I'm in this company that loves beauty, that knows beauty. What I can go, a further step. I loved both companies. I still love them, and they both taught me things that were very complementary. No, it's so important to have a background foundation with, and I always think with entrepreneurship, it's nice to always work for kind of someone else and kind of learn the best of, and learn what is good with you, right? You start understanding your strengths and weaknesses, and the company cultures are so different between L'Oréal and Procter & Gamble.
Oh, for sure. I think L'Oréal has more of it triggered my entrepreneurial bug, because there is a lot more entrepreneurial spirit in the way you operate. You were a little bit more individualistic in how you have an idea, just go do it. If you succeed, you're going to be amazing. If you don't succeed, it's your own bets, which is something that you have less of, I think, in other company, or at least at the time what it was. So it really set me up one step closer to the entrepreneurship journey.
And when you hit a success with one of your ideas at a company like L'Oreal, like how is that rewarded? Is it that the big bosses come and you get an email? Is it like, how are you celebrated? Because now you're at a very senior level.
Yeah, I think it's funny because a lot of people talk about, how do you want to be celebrated and how do companies celebrate it. I learned from a young age, and that's thanks to my dad, who told me, as young women, we rely too much on external validation. And my dad has spotted in early me the people pleaser, and he said, I'm going to tell you one thing. Never wait for the tap on the head or the shoulder to let you know that you've done a good job. Otherwise, you will always be a slave to that, regardless of your performance. Learn to judge your own performance. And that's one of the biggest advices. I always thank him today when I'm like, this has been life-changing because I see it. I'm like, okay, do I think I did a good job factually? Okay, so that's the first person I satisfy to go, okay, I know I did a good job. When external validation comes, be it a promotion or a celebration, I think the biggest celebrations in corporate world is to get the job you want. You get to do the next thing and the next thing, right? And that's what happened to me. I was doing a category manager, like a strategic role across multiple categories, but I really wanted to go closer to the brand. I moved to L'Oréal Paris. I did a decent job, I like to think, on L'Oréal Paris. I was promoted to general manager on another division. Then I really wanted to do makeup, so I did a general manager on Maybelline. So I think when people tell me my validation I needed from the company is to recognize what I can bring and give me the opportunity to bring more of it. So that happened a lot in both P&G and L'Oréal, to be honest. I think that's a more visible way to celebrate people, promotions and the desirable jobs.
You're working with L'Oréal Paris. You're in a very senior role. You are now meeting new people. Were there any mentors at that stage at L'Oréal that you really looked up to?
So in L'Oréal, I wouldn't say mentors, I met so many great people, I mean P&G as well, where for me, when people pick one mentor, I was like, no, you need more because you take different things from different people. I started actually I met amazing people, creative people, people that have stronger skill sets in some categories that I did. And I tried to be inspired by seeing what do they do differently. I met multiple retailers. It was not just internally. You were getting access to CEOs of retailers and things like that, and go, oh, I love this lady's leadership style. She's the first retailer, female CEO of a oops, I'm going to remove this, a CEO of a retail company, and it was, so it's you watch for those things that you want to learn. You always kind of, regardless of your seniority. Somebody that I learned a lot from is Michel, who was, he arrived at L'Oréal at the same time as I did from P&G. Michel Rosemin, the co-founder of Waldencast, with me, and he was a fantastic leader, and he had a skill set in many ways similar to mine because we went through the same school, P&G and L'Oréal, but also very complementary in how operational and commercial he was versus what I was, versus what my own skill set was. So too many to quote, but yes, a lot of them.
So you spend this time in the corporate world. You're kind of you're growing on this corporate ladder. When did that entrepreneurial bug start kicking in? Because I just heard you mention Michelle. So at this point, you've met him. You know that you have this synergy. You have the same business thought process.
Yeah, I think I always say, people ask me, and I'm sure you do the same for you, Rosemin, because there's this fascination with entrepreneurship that is almost like everybody, that we tell people you should be an entrepreneur. No, you should not be. If it's for you, it finds you. That's what I tell people now, is one day you wake up and you're like, oh, there's no other way. I have to do it this way. And for me, it arrived, it was three things that happened at the same time. One is I would say in my mid-30s, maybe 37, I don't really remember, when I started to have this stronger desire to do things my way. Like, it's more important to do things aligned with my values and my principles than anything else. So that's number one, to be on your own terms. And number two, I started looking at the beauty industry. So many opportunities. Was the time of the big bang of so many brands launching. And I'm like, oh my God, so many brands launching. They're doing some of the things right, but none of them have the operational, experience that I have. And I was like, would I want to try that? Why wouldn't I do it? I actually know how to do it. Is what I'm lacking is the courage or the jumping in the void. And it becomes a frustration. You think about it all the time, and it's like almost like, I wish I could do this. There's something else for me. And the catalyst event, in my view, was a conversation that I had with Michel, who was no longer in the UK. He went on to be the president of L'Oréal Consumer North America. And I was doing general manager of Maybelline in the UK and SE, so makeup. I was very happy. It was fun. I was having great work-life balance, everything. But I still had that burn. And I think it was a conversation when he asked me, what do you want to do next? And everybody was like, you've done a big makeup role in the UK. Maybe you do a big makeup role in another country. And I thought to myself, do I want to go to another country? Like now? And their answer was no. So I thought, but what do I really want to do? And in the conversation, I just told him, and I thought he was going to tell me that was crazy. I said, you know what? I really want to start my own brand. And it had the seed of Whind in me. There was also another driver. And I thought he was going to tell me that I was silly, that I had a great job, I should just come back to it. And he said, actually, this is a great idea. I'm in the US and I see all these brands thriving. There's so much potential. And then he said, really, the thing that took me over the line, which is, and I am thinking about the same, I really want to do something more entrepreneurial in line with my values, my way, build the next big beauty company with humility. And I just don't want to do one brand. I want to do multiple brands because there's so much to do. And then we're like, oh my God, let's do this together. Because for me, one of the biggest barrier to jumping into entrepreneurship was I never worked by myself alone. I was like, okay, so I'm going to move from all these people
with a team and a support system and
to
a
be
security
in my kitchen alone. That's the thing that I could not. Maybe I would have eventually done it a few years later, but that was my biggest personal emotional barrier, and that suddenly unlocked it. I was like, okay, entrepreneurship is betting on yourself. I'm betting on myself and the other extremely amazing, qualified, smart person I know, and we're going to do it together. So that was what really jumped us into the Waldencast adventure.
You mentioned Whind very shortly.
Yeah.
What happened first? Was it Whind, your own brand, or was it this acquisition of building this company where you're acquiring and building these brands?
Both.
Okay.
Because, start from zero entrepreneurship to two things. We started them at the same time. So we started, and, at the beginning of Waldencast, the vision was from early days to build this global beauty and wellness platform that creates, acquires, and scales the next generation of beauty and wellness brands. That was from day one. Day one was 2019. There was just the two of us, our computers, our life savings, and some partner investors that were with us from the beginning. And how do I start with two people? So we started with ventures. So the first iteration of Waldencast was Waldencast Ventures, when we were investing in early stage brands, a brand that we thought had potential, that we could help with funding and know-how. And in parallel, I was working on Whind by myself. I was, what is Whind? And it was more of a creative part of creating, creating Whind and Waldencast are very different. One is more business, and then the acquires brand. The other one is starting the brand, building from scratch. What is the brand? What is the consumer? What is the universe? What is the unique value proposition? Why do we exist? So there was two things happening at the same time. And then Whind obviously was part of what we then created that was called Waldencast Brands, which is our incubator that creates brands from scratch. It has Whind. It also has glaze and coats. I always say I have other children. This Whind is my child that looks the most like me. So, yeah.
I have so many questions. First, let's talk about Whind, because Whind is so exciting. It's rooted in your Moroccan heritage, which kind of goes back to the original story of what's missing, what's exciting. What was that process? How do you start a brand? And I think that's what a lot of listeners want to hear, because everyone kind of dreams of starting a brand. What was that first step?
So first step is always an idea, right? And an idea is often an unmet need or something that does not exist. For me, businesses that will last, not just something that is, like reacting to a trend. And for me, the need started personally, which is how it starts with most brands, is I was going to all the beauty retailers, obviously for my work, and as a professional, as a consumer, I was struck by how everything looked the same. I was like, wow, everything looks the same. It was the big trend for fragrance-free, skincare, and I was obsessed with skincare because I'm a big skincare consumer. I was like, everything looks the same, made by the same people, for the same people, sold in the same place, and it is boring. It's kind of basically my first observation. And it was like, I wish there was something that would give me the performance I want, like the glow, the brightening, etc. But it also has an amazing experience. And the experience for me was inspired by I used to wear to use as a toner, just like orange blossom water, and it would splash it on my face because that's what we do in Morocco. And I love the scent of it, the texture of it, how it feels on the skin. But I'm like, it could be better if it was enriched with ingredients.
Yeah, and it was like fortified. Yeah, of course.
Exactly. So, and you don't have, because we have this association that natural beauty is weak in its performance, and then other beauty, like more technical beauty, is superior. And for most of the cases it is, right? So I thought, why don't we marry most? And I almost married the two sides of my personality. I worked by the time 20 years in the beauty industry, a lot of it in skincare, knowing labs, how formulation works, etc. And then I was like, and I'm gonna bring in the sensoriality, the inspiration, the rituals of Morocco. So that was the founding idea. But then when the idea comes in, obviously it answers a need. You validate it with people, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes an idea is not scalable. Is there an audience for it? What makes it special? Especially in beauty, where there's so much going on all the time. I was like, is there a brand that expresses, is the Moroccan beauty point of view or the Arab beauty point of view valid and relevant? Yes. That was the first thing to check. Would people be interested in hearing more about it, of experiencing it? Yes. Okay, so we will do that. And how are we going to create it in a way that is different and appealing? And one of the things I'm still told on Whind that makes me the happiest is when it's like, I have not seen a brand like that. I was like, yes, because I did not design it to create a brand like something that existed, right?
Of course.
So there's a big why. Why was spotlighting Moroccan Arab beauty rituals in a way that was modern. So you have the science and the sensoriality, the performance and the experience, and a universe that is very inspired by Morocco, but it's not Morocco. I always say it's inspired by Morocco, right? And bring that to consumers, to spotlight what we can do and what we bring to the world. So that's the creative part of it. But that does not live without the technical part of it. The technical part of it is first the business plan. If it's going to be a business and not a hobby, what does it need to be successful? What is the target? What are the financial KPIs? How much money do you need to invest and what kind of revenue do you need to target? Do you need to raise money? Most likely, yes. How do you do that? And then the third part is the sourcing, because you are selling something to people they're going to put on their skin. Beyond an idea that I'm joining sensoriality with performance, it actually needs to work. So reaching out to the packaging, the manufacturers,
the
labs to
Was
create.
it hard to find, or did you? Because now you're not coming in as L'Oreal, where you're doing like probably 1 million quantities. You're probably doing like a
that's a really good question, because I always say when you leave a big company, you almost like you drop your last name. Nobody knows who you are outside of the company we're in. So in this case, what was easy, I think relatively easy, is we knew the industry. So the retailers, the labs, the packaging. So that was not the difficult outreach. For me, the surprising element was that actually how many amazing labs are very excited to play with new brands if the new brands are creative, because often they have creative people from their own. They don't want to do the same thing as somebody else. So one of the labs we work with is an amazing lab. He is passionate about Moroccan beauty. He loved that this is what I wanted to do.
Amazing.
So the creative process we have is a very creative process, not just a technical one. I was like, I'm inspired by this and I want this performance and I want this texture and this sound. Let's do it together. So that was the not so complicated part. I think the complicated part in starting a business or a brand is to listen to the feedback and pick which feedback is relevant or not, because a brand is a point of view. I might love it, you might hate it, and that's okay.
Yeah,
right? That's
true.
okay. If everybody loves it, it's probably wrong,
Yeah.
you know? But I need to have enough people who like it. And as you build it, you have to keep your point of view and your reason for existing, while also listening to the feedback from the retailers, the consumers, you know, the beauty industry, whatever, to say, actually, maybe I should tweak this or tweak that. In my case, I think it took me a bit of time. Sometimes I listened too much. Where I listened too much and I made a mistake is, but I corrected it afterwards, is Whind was this marriage of performance and sensoriality. It was not designed to be a 100% clinical brand. There's a lot of those. This is not that consumer. The consumer of Whind really knows the marriage of both. And because Whind launched at a time where it was the height of fragrance-free, it was just after COVID, height of fragrance-free, height of clinical, everybody was like, oh, maybe you need to dial up the clinicals. The thing with Whind product is we have the data. It's there. That's why it works. But it's not how you attract consumers. They don't want to hear about it, you know? Yeah. If they want it, they will go to somebody else. Yeah. They came to us for an experience. So when we launched the brand, you know, there was so much pressure and noise about, oh, but it has fragrances. People hate fragrances. That's not true. Only 3% of people hate fragrances in skincare, or less than 6%, at least in the UK. And I was like, okay, so it was so much noise that I tweaked it, and we tweaked the messaging a bit too much from what I wanted to be the heart of Whind, which is an experience, right? Is you come into the world and we give you the glow, the scent that you want within this warm, generous, joyful, transportative, you know, Whind makes you travel to Morocco. Yeah. There's a bit of a dreaminess to it that actually you cannot just have a clinical claim just close to it. So that's, for me, you listen. I shouldn't have listened as much. Where I listened, which was a good development, is from the very beginning, the Whind consumer is a multi-category consumer. So today we have, I was told this morning that is this person who had 50 orders of Whind, you know, over a lifetime. I was like, that's a lot, you know, for one person. And I can tell that there's our most loyal consumers, they buy across category and they buy almost everything we do. So it's belonging to it's a lifestyle brand, right? So
it's the community.
It's a lifestyle.
You're slowly building this
There's
community.
really a lifestyle brand, which I did not build it like that. I envisioned a skincare brand. I was like, this is a skincare brand that does performance and sensoriality. But then very quickly, consumers will tell us, oh, but can I have the same in a body care? Oh, I love that scent. Do you do it as a scent? So this is where we pivoted from having solely a skincare line to a fragrance and body care, because that's what our community wanted. So that was something we listened to, that I was happy to listen to. But I think, going back to your original question, the hardest part of the early days of the brand, you have your thesis, you have your business plan. Once it's born, it's the hard bits, is you have to see what is going to make it successful and what indicators and what feedback do I listen to or not.
So one of the questions we always get asked when we talk about the entrepreneur journey is the finance part, right? Like, how do you know how much money to budget? How do you, these unexpected expenses, and even something like pivoting, even to order a new product is still a cost, right? It's like development, design, packaging, the whole process. What is a realistic number for someone starting a brand?
A beauty brand? Ooh, it changed a lot over the last few years. If you had asked me, I think to get it off the ground, you need between, I would say, 1 million to 2 million, credibly, right? If you want to have a brand that is decently listed, decently stocked, have a decent range. But it changed a lot with the, what changed a lot since 2018 or 17 was the boom of beauty, is before everybody was looking for growth. So you would be able to raise a lot of money, because I'm like, I'm going to put $20 million, just make it up, in marketing, because I want to grow it and I'm going to make it a $100 million brand. It doesn't matter that I'm losing $100 million at the bottom, because I'm showing the growth. I think right now, for the last few years, we've been back to a sustainable growth, is you need to be able to say, I invest for growth, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel. If I'm not profitable today, I will be profitable in 2-3 years if X and Y happen. That's the big change. I think also my personal experience of this, and again, there's so much different business models, is sometimes if you have a very strong point of view, when you raise external money, and again, it depends from who, you invite a different point of view to the table.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who raise money do not know that. It's like you take people's money, you have to take their opinion. It is as important, right? It's not free money.
Actually, that's such great advice.
And this is the thing. And I think there was this, many people, especially when you have creative founders, you think the value all is the creativity, which is true, a lot of it is, but people are investing behind you. They don't write off that money. They expect to have a point of view. When things go well, everything is happy, everyone is happy. When things are challenging, maybe people will tell you, are you priced too high? Are you priced too strongly? Should you be in that retailer? I don't want to go to that retailer because it's off equity. Maybe we should just go because it's volume,
Yeah.
So the prioritization of the short term versus the mid-term versus the long term is important. And I tell people, beyond how much money you need to bring to the table or raise externally, is what is the help you need? Do you want to raise money for somebody who also has the connection that's going to help you in retail?
It's like Dragon's Den, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? And do you need the money now, or do you need to have a further proof of concept so your valuation of your business is higher? Because the earlier you raise money, the more you raise money on a PowerPoint and on an idea. So the risk is on the finance side, right? And I think a lot of I advise, quote unquote, advise. It's not my biggest expertise, funding, but a lot of young founders or new founders or entrepreneurs ask me, and I have conversation. I'm like, it depends what you're trying to achieve. If this is all the money you need for your business plan or for this phase, maybe find it through angel investment or friends and family or bootstrap. If this is the kind of money you need, this is VC money, and it's kind of a different kind of game. So I think having that honest conversation with yourself, what do I want the money for, and what I'm expecting in return is very important, because it avoids difficulties down the line.
You are in such a unique position. Not only are you a founder of a brand, Whind, which is your name. It's a play on words, right, of your name, just with a W in front. So you can see it when we show you the product. You're also Chief Growth Officer. When brands are coming to you, what are you looking for? Because now you have developed a reputation of being literally the next kind of conglomerate. I mean, you're listed on the NASDAQ, which is so impressive. What are you looking for when people pitch you? Or pitch the team, you and Michelle?
So when they pitch us, they pitch us on the Waldencast PLC. So the company is so we're looking for much bigger types of company. Like I said, we have baby brands that we created. We have toddler brand we invested in. We need teenage brand. So we want.
No, let me impress you. By the way, she's being very, very humble. You have probably one of the most world recognized skincare brands, Obagi, which is just a game changer. I used to have cystic acne, and I love this brand because it literally helped me. Their 3-4 step system was a game changer. So I was so excited to kind of get my hands on Obagi again. You have Milk Cosmetics out of New York City, which is literally in Sephora. It's such a game changer. It's such a fun product. These are huge brands.
Yeah.
So what was that process? They were coming to you, or were you found them?
So we found them. It's and the process was, I was saying earlier, we started with Waldencast Ventures in 2019, investing in early stage brand. Then we did Waldencast Brands, where we have an incubator in London that does baby brand, create them from scratch. And in the middle of that, we had COVID 2020. It was part of our journey. We're blessed with that, and that. At that time, we were like, actually, to hit our vision of being this big beauty conglomerate, we need to accelerate. And baby brands, toddler brands, is going to take a long time for them to be profitable, sizable, etc. So we need more teenage brands, sturdier brands that are either profitable or close, soon to be profitable. So the way of doing that was to financing that, because we're talking next different kind of investment level that you cannot go to VCs. We're looking at multi-$100 million brands, right? So we went through public listing, because through the public listing you get the currency of the shares, and we managed to do the acquisition of Milk Makeup and Obagi Skincare. Why Milk Makeup and Obagi Skincare is we went into this and we're like, what are the assets that are today in the market that would fit with our vision? And if I talk about Milk and Obagi, both of them were, they were not in a process, like they were not looking. We went to them because we heard of them, or, you know, we were intrigued about them. Sometimes we knew people in the companies. Like in Milk, the CEO, Tim, was a great friend of Michelle and I from our L'Oréal days. And we were, okay, these are brands that play in two big categories, skincare and makeup. The fastest growing segment in skincare was dermo skincare.
Yeah.
The fastest growing makeup segment was clean makeup, especially the younger demographic. And what were the key assets in those areas? It was Obagi, the number one physician brand in the US, and Milk, one of the top Gen Z brand, clean Gen Z brand at Sephora. And both of them had so they were playing in the same, they were both playing in the same, in a segment that was highly valuable, but both of them were crown jewels in their categories, also because they had sticky communities. Because we want brand that are going to be here in 100 years.
Yeah.
I call them brands with a capital B, so it's not just something a bit trendy. And how do you identify the real brand? It's a brand that's able to have a loyal community. Obagi had this super loyal, big footprint with physicians that recommend, Obagi day in, day out. And Milk had this super loyal community on Instagram, TikTok, etc. that really helped build the success of the brand. So that's why we picked those assets. It was like, wow, they really have the right magic within them. But also we look at, is there something we can bring to the table? Because some brands are already too big to be taken to the next level. And we saw that both of them had a very strong US footprint, but they were not available internationally. Both of them have still gaps in the portfolio where we can help, enlarge the offering to target more consumers. And we look at that path for growth. And it's like, actually, within Waldencast, we can help them get there. And that's why we went after these two brands. And when we look forward, now we know all our friends are in beauty. We know everybody in beauty. So we know all the brands that are in some kind of process. And this is the thought process we go through. It's like, is this a desirable market for us? Segments, like we play only in beauty and wellness, and by wellness we mean consumables, so we wouldn't do like machines or spas. We do a product, like supplements maybe, and things like that, because we focus on what we know. And we go, okay, what are the brands that make sense, and we're lucky because right now in beauty there's a lot of them. So
I love that. No, it's so proud to see this company that you've built. I also want to say, if this is correct, you're the first female Moroccan woman to ring that bell.
Yes, I was.
In New York City. Yes. What was that feeling like?
It was it's fine because it was surreal, right? Because what we often talk about the successes, but we don't talk about the journey to get there, right? And sometimes when I'm asked these questions, I feel like almost like it's a surprise to me. I was like, it was not a surprise to me because it's years and years
of work,
and 2 days before that Nasdaq bell ringing, we had like 2 completely sleepless nights doing things. So it's not like so you were like just like, oh my god, I haven't slept in 48 hours. Was more probably in my head. So for me, it's not a surprise because it's something you work towards, and then it happens. And in the moment, for me, I don't know, it always brings me back to where I come from. And my girlfriends, they tell me, they're like, you should stop telling people I am this little girl from Morocco. You should tell them this little girl from Meknes, Morocco. It's a small town. And I'm like, and sometimes I feel lucky. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so lucky that I had the opportunity to work hard because they work hard as well, and be in a place like that. And hopefully there's going to be many, many, many more of us. So yeah.
Well, you paved the way. And that's so funny. I always say that now because I was born in London, Ontario, which is a small town. I think people only know it for Richard Ivey Business School at Western. It's like a student town. Yeah. And then when I started moving to London, like I went to the UK and I went to London for university, people were like, where are you from? And I was like, oh, I'm from London. And they had and I'm like, London, Ontario, Canada. And I was like, forget it. And then my parents had actually moved to Toronto, which is the big city. And I always say Toronto. And I'm like, actually, my foundation of growing up, my value system, the friends that I had growing up, these childhood friends that are still my childhood friends, it's because I came from this small town.
Yeah, for sure.
It's because we went to each other's houses. The door was open, my friends would come over and I would have, the Indian food would be out and everyone would just indulge in the kitchen and hang out and do our homework. And like, it's that small town feeling.
Yeah, for sure. And I always like give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, and I always think, I was like, oh, it's too complicated to say where I'm from. And I'll be like, oh, Toronto. But I'm like, no, actually, this grounding system came from this small town.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're very, very proud of you.
thank
I'm going to
you.
ask you one question. What was that tipping point as an entrepreneur that you knew that you were on the right track? Because as an entrepreneur, we always question ourselves. Is this the right step?
Yeah.
Right? Because there's no security blanket. Everything are decisions that you're making. What
Yeah.
was that tipping point where you're kind of like, this is pretty amazing. I have Whind.
Yeah, I think there's two levels of, I guess, security. The other word is risk, right? Risk taking. When I left L'Oréal, I don't know, 90% of people I knew thought I was crazy. And I can see why. But I also, it's because we're educated to look at risk in a different way. I was like, okay, I am a general manager at L'Oréal today. I leave, I do a business for 2-3 years. What's the worst that can happen? The business doesn't work. I can find another general manager role, and actually I will have a CV that looked like no other general manager I know, because I would have tried something different. So you know what I have today, I can go back to. So there's no, it's not like I'm leaving, something that I cannot get back. And I think this is something that we think, because we have so much FOMO, like go up the ladder so quickly. We're like, oh my God, if I go do something else, I'm not going to be able to compete. I was like, of course you're going to be able to compete, because you're adding a skill set that is completely new. So I was never worried about that. But I think when your business starts having teams and responsibilities to your teams, to your investors, to your shareholders, the pressure is another level, right? So I think there's days of doubts, days of confidence, and there's that high and low that you have to adjust to. I think it was not a moment, but it was a trust in the vision that we put together, and always looking is like, does this still make sense? Is this still make sense? Is the steps that we're taking towards that vision might be different from what we thought, but do they still make sense? Am I going into the right direction? Do I have the means to go to other direction? And do I need to change some elements of the what doesn't change, the how can change,
Yeah.
So it's, for me, when you are always working it until it works, by being very lucid about the implication of what it means, because when you're raising money, when you don't, it's a lot of day-to-day implication, but at the end of the day, you have the responsibility, of course, of yourself, of your investors, of your teams, and how you making it work. If you don't see a path to how you can make it work, then you need to consider an alternative. But I think, we always find a way to make it work, or find a different path, and be flexible about it, if that makes sense.
And what was that moment when you saw your products on a retail shelf? Like, do you get excited when you like?
Yeah, I mean, I am.
Do you do a lot of mystery shopping?
Yeah, no, but for me, it's. I am, as a person, I am extremely. I'm never blasé. I'm always excitable. I'm very positive and all that kind of thing, which helps being an entrepreneur. But it's less about seeing them on shelves, but when people talk to me about them, like, these real humans that I don't know, that buy the products and love them. This is something that I never get used to, because it's been a few years now. But when somebody's like, oh, I bought this, and it was like, oh my God, some person took their own money and bought something that we created. It's a mix of gratitude for that person and mini pride. It's quite a special feeling. It's more about than being on shelf. It's that feedback loop, and the realization of it's not obscure amount of people. It's real individuals who take the time to know your brand and buy it and say something nice about it.
I love that. Actually, it's the perfect way to end this segment, because it's gratitude and pride.
Yeah.
And you have such an incredible career. And I think it's such a great example to whoever's listening out there, is to absorb it all, try new things. And when you're in a company, take that risk and ask questions.
Yeah.
And I love that. And of course, now you're such a incredible example of an Arab woman who has done so well. And Whind is available at all fabulous retailers, and of course on your e-commerce site as well. And got to try out Obagi. Obagi's back.
Obagi's back in the region. It's a wonderful brand as well.
Yeah. So we're so happy to have you, and welcome back to Dubai.
Thank you. It was very kind.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.